has taken over the terminal operatorship for the George and King Palo in the Eastern Cape airports under the Airports Company South Africa license for as a has managed to train a total of 200 women, and those women were from the following provinces: the Limpopo, the Northwest, the Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, and Northern Cape. On derelict and ownerless mine during the year under review, we have managed to close 95 links in the province of Gauteng, and 65 of during the year under review. The Mintech produced HIV test kits which have passed validation by 100%. The clinical trials were completed in March 2023. On transformation and empowerment of those previously disadvantaged remains important of the minerals and energy. In order to address the imbalances of the past and stepping further in effecting transformation agenda, we will also work towards approving the launch of the draft mining sector youth strategy, youth and energy strategy, mining sector women empowerment and gender equality strategy. We will monitor the implementation of energy sector empowerment and gender equality strategy and frameworks. We are correcting what DA
As
left.
you conclude, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Malibongwe. Malibongwe mamas.
Thank you, Dr. Nkabane. I'll now invite Honourable Debrain. Honourable Debrain is in the chamber.
Thank you, House Chair. Agbare voorsitter, die minister het vandag hier en in die nasionale vergadering Dinsdag ons probeer oortuig van die sogenaamde suksesse wat hy in sy departement behaal het oor die laaste jaar, veral ten opsigte van die kragkrisis. Maar om suksesvol reddingsboeie uit te gooi nadat jy self die skip op die rotse laat vaar het, is nie 'n prestasie of die sukses van 'n skeepskaptein nie, agbare voorsitter. Dit is as noodmaatreëls uitgevoer as gevolg van sy eie onvermoë om die skip op koers te hou. Die agbare minister het gesê in die strewe om elke huishouding in Suid-Afrika van krag te voorsien, die departement mik om 'n bykomende 917,000 huishoudings aan die kragnetwerk te verbind. En ons verwelkom die feit dat daar gepoog word om almal in Suid-Afrika van krag te voorsien. Maar dit is 'n baie onrealistiese strewe om te hê in die huidige kragkrisis. En dit is 'n baie onverantwoordelike belofte om te maak in hierdie stadium aan die kiesers daar buite. Daar moet sekerlik eers krag beskikbaar wees voordat die minister kan beloof om dit uit te deel. En dit is 'n fout wat die ANC duur te staan gaan kom in 2024. Voorsitter, die adjunkminister het vroeër hierdie week en sopas weer hard probeer om baie opportunisties die blame van die kragkrisis te skuif na die verlede toe, eerder as om te erken dat dit as gevolg van hierdie departement en regering is wat deur korrupsie, kaderontplooiing en rasgebaseerde arbeidswetgewing verantwoordelik is vir die verval van Eskom. Tot en met 2007, voorsitter, kon Eskom 82% van krag dat Eskom vandag ten gronde is en 100% van die bevolking van Suid-Afrika gebuk gaan onder beurtkrag. Dit, voorsitter, dit is die skuld van die ANC. Die afgelope paar jare was dit geen geheim dat die sogenaamde steenkoolmafia en korrupsie vanuit Eskom en die regering baie suksesvol die bedrywighede van Eskom beheer nie. Die vraag bly egter, na al die verslae, beweringe en vletjiebelassers wat na vore gekom het, hoekom het ons nog geen betekenisvolle arrestasies en geregtigheid gesien nie? Dis omdat daar eenvoudig geen politieke wil is nie. Dit is hoekom, voorsitter. Hoewel die waarde van produksie van mynbou effe gestyg het as gevolg van 'n verhoogde aanvraag, het die produksie oor die algemeen afgeneem en dit is grootliks as gevolg van beurtkrag. So in werklikheid kan minerale nie voldoende ontgin word nie as 'n gevolg van tekort aan energie. En die Departement van Minerale Hulpbronne en Energie, waarvan beide hier afhanklik is, probeer nou in begrotingstyd hier te staan en die land te oortuig dat hy suksesse behaal en 'n betekenisvolle rol speel in Suid-Afrika en in die ekonomie. Agbare voorsitter, so 'n scenario sê jy nêrens anders in die wêreld teekom nie. En dit is inderwaarheid trots Suid-Afrikaans. Die minister het dit ook duidelik gemaak die afgelope tyd dat omgewingsake en die welstand daarvan geen erns in sy oë geniet nie. En dit is beduidend as ons gaan kyk na die gehalte van lug in Mpumalanga of die besoedeling van ondergrondse waterbronne in Noordwes, om maar net 2 voorbeelde te noem. Die uitgangspunt dat mynbou voorkeur moet geniet bo omgewingsake, omdat mynbou geld genereer en die omgewing nie, gaan almal in Suid-Afrika en ons nageslagte duur te staan kom in die toekoms. En eendag sal ons terugkyk en hierdie departement en sy minister se gewete sal verseker nie skoon wees nie. Om op te som, agbare voorsitter, onder die oorsig van hierdie departement is ons in die grootste kragkrisis in die 100 jaar van Eskom se bestaan. Mynbouproduksie daal en korrupsie het so aan uitgeruk dat Suid-Afrika nou al tot sy eie steenkoolmafia het. En entiteite en myne onder die oorsig van hierdie departement is verantwoordelik vir die meeste van die besoedeling in Suid-Afrika. Kortom gestel, voorsitter, hierdie departement het nie suksesse nie. En om enige begroting aan hom toe te ken, is om geld in die water te gooi. Kom ons raak eerder in 2024 ontslaaf van die ANC, sodat departemente kan begin doen wat hulle veronderstel is om te doen, dat hulle ons mense van Suid-Afrika kan dien. Dankie.
Thank you. I'll now invite Salga representative Councillor Pungut, who's on the virtual platform. Salga representative on the virtual platform.
Thank you, House Chair. Good afternoon to the Minister, Minister Mantashe, Deputy Minister, members of the NCOP, special delegates. Honourable House Chair, Salga notes the mineral resource and energy budget with some few reservations. And the reason why Salga notes the budget with few reservations is that the local government is everybody's responsibility to make it success. And local government is not only a place for service delivery, but it is equally a place for impactful infrastructure. So on the Integrated National Electrification Program, Salga welcomes the achievement by the department on the INEP, which for this financial year is aimed to connect 979,000 households to the grid, and currently 673,946 households are connected. It's an achievement for us as local government. The department has 6 billion earmarked under INEP, where Eskom has a lion's share of 63% of the allocation, leaving the municipalities with a mere share of 27% of the allocation. Honourable House Chair, this has always been Salga's concern that the approach to the allocation on this program is further allowing Eskom to increase its footprint in municipal areas of supply, and therefore perpetuating the undermining of the municipalities' constitutional powers over electricity reticulation, as well as inequalities between Eskom and municipalities. With the current energy crisis we have in our country, we believe that while it is important and remains a priority to achieve universal access to electricity, the architecture of this program is grossly outdated. It is still mainly targeting connections to be done from the main grid, which is constrained and have no capacity. The program is still yet to provide a fully sustainable energy package, which does not have a reliance on the grid and Eskom generation. The current non-grid program under INEP is not responding to the current needs, Honourable Chair. On the reform of the sector, the amendment of the Electricity Regulation Act to enable the creation of transmission systems operator is noted by Salga. Eskom has already applied for a transmission trading import and export license for the purpose of forming the TSO. The application has already been tabled to the energy regulator, and Salga has participated in consultation process where it raised some fundamental issues regarding the process. It is concerning that the current unbundling of Eskom is happening in the absence of local government in this conversation. The approach taken by Eskom to forming the TSO is not very inclusive, as it seeks to still only transport power and sell to only the Eskom distributor, excluding the municipalities. It is for these reasons that SALGA believes that national government needs to issue a policy position on the restructuring of the entire electricity supply industry, including distribution. This must include a roadmap that will be inclusive to all stakeholders, especially municipalities, who form almost half of the ESCOM revenue. Honorable Chair, on the grid capacity constraints and procurement of additional generation capacity, we note that the single most challenge we face to address the energy crisis in the grid unavailability, and this must not just be looked at from the ESCOM grid side of things. Municipalities have a similar challenge and must be part of the solution. As a result, there must also be intense grid expansion and refurbishment investment that are focused on municipalities. Honorable Chairperson, if we discuss grid capacity constraints in isolation of municipality, we are not holistically tackling our energy crisis. We note with great concern the intention by the national government to procure a total of 11,700 megawatts in the next 3 to 5 years. In these government plans, there is not a single megawatt allocated to be procured at the municipal level. If the government wants to be intentional about resolving the energy crisis, it must recognize the challenge experienced by municipalities in their attempts to procuring power from independent power producers without any sort of government support or guarantees. It is quite difficult for municipalities to be regarded as credible off-takers of power without any guarantees. In as much as the legislation and regulations have allowed the municipality to procure from IPPs, there is no provision for a plan to enable a speedy growth on procurement of power that must occur at the municipal level. At this point, municipalities are only just seen as opportunity to wheel or transport power from one point to the other, which also has a direct bearing on municipal revenues if not done correctly. Honorable Chair, SALGA would like to call for the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to set up a MINMEC and associated technical structures similar to what is taking place in other sector departments to ensure proper intergovernmental collaboration with regard to the government policy program, legislative reforms, and many other things. The absence of this structure on the energy part of things could be the cause of local government missing in the important conversation that deal with the future of the industry and its role or how it is affected. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, I just want to make a quotation from St. August that says that the hope has 2 beautiful daughters. Their names are anger and courage. Anger is the way that things are currently. Courage, it says to us, things are this way, but they won't remain this way. And it is our hope to build a modern and a sustainable local government, working together with everybody that cares about local government. I also want to render this poem to the minister to say that the poem is by Ralph Waldo Emerson, that it is titled Courage. Whatever course you decide upon, there is always some to tell you that you are wrong and it is impossible. There will always be difficulties that will tempt you to believe your critics are right. To map out a course of action and follow the plan to the end requires at the same time courage that all the soldiers has. So that is our message to the minister. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor. The next, it's Honorable Fisser. Honorable Fisser was in the house.
Thank you, Chair, House Chair, Honorable Chair, and all the members, Honorable Minister, and fellow South Africans, good day. South Africa has completely broken down. What once were a valuable asset to our country, participating in local economic development projects like building hospitals, school, recreational facilities, and infrastructure, are now deserted and closed down or struggling to operate due to the failures of this ministry. For years, the gradual deterioration became challenges. Key challenges facing the industry include lack of technical skills, energy reliability, and unreliable infrastructure frustrated and compromised environmental impact issues, supply chain issues, worker safety and operational security, and growing illegal mining activities. At the recent four-day African Mining Indaba, a bleak picture of South Africa's mining industry was depicted. Furthermore, load shedding and the drastic decline in rail and port capacity forced thousands of heavily laden trucks to destroy our road infrastructure, resulting in an increased number of fatal road accidents. Irrespective of the cost of 1 billion rand per day transporting coal to Richards Bay, there was no other choice since Transnet collapsed and rails were decommissioned. It's estimated that infrastructure inefficiencies have resulted in a 15% decline in mineral sales. Coal exports through the Richards Bay coal terminal dropped to 50 million tons. Dropped to 50 million rand in tons in 2022, which was the worst performance through the terminal since 1993. Illegal mining is currently totally out of control, with Zamazamas being the trend setters in deserted mines and in some communities. Strategic Organized Crime Assessment for South Africa states illegal mining is an integral part and an existential threat, inflicting a devastating toll on the political, economic, and social fabric of South Africa. Illegal miners are not only stealing resources, they are crippling the economy, including loss of tax revenue and miners' loss of income for those legally being employed. The mining sector remains an important financial factor of South Africa's economy, contributing 8% of the GDP and providing direct employment to an estimated 500,000 people. Despite this historic strength, the industry faces challenges as it seeks to sustain and grow its position. The mining value chain is the historic bedrock of South Africa's economy. It directly contributes more than 300 billion rand to the GDP, directly employs more than 450,000 people, and is the economic anchor of many communities around the country. In South Africa, we mine 4 major commodities: platinum, thermal coal, diamonds, and iron ore. All of these play a role, big or small, in our everyday lives. In South Africa, coal is powered because coal is what South Africa uses to generate most of our electricity. Mining often uses large amounts of water and pollutes rivers, streams, groundwater, and other sources of water for the community. Mining may also make it difficult for the community to produce its own food by taking up agricultural or grazing land or by polluting the soil or air. South Africa is a water-scarce country and cannot allow our waters to be polluted with sewer and the toxic discharge of industries and mines. The minister in his executive undertaking must act upon those that violates legislation and regulations unabated. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is mandated to ensure the transparent and efficient regulation of South Africa's mineral resources and mineral industry, and the secure and sustainable provision of energy in support of socio-economic development. Honourable Minister, it is quite obvious that you and your inept governing party has turned everything great about this country into darkness and misery. With the imminent implementation of Stage 8 load shedding plunging our country far further and further into the abyss, especially on the financial front, it is quite clear that the much hyped Ramaphosa is indeed dead, and the only light that this country can depend on is a DA-led government come 2024. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honourable Hatebe. who's on the virtual platform?
Thank you.
Honourable-
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Minister, although great strides have been taken towards transformation, growth, and development in the minerals and mining industry, mining production has decreased by 5.0 year-on-year in February this year. Unfortunately, just like in all other sectors, the high and rampant levels of load shedding have had a toll on mining, meaning that potential production was lost due to significant constraints in electricity supply. It is important that we question how issues related to the impact of load shedding will be addressed, as there is an overlapping of some sort in the duties and functions of this ministry and the Ministry of Electricity, whose legal powers and functions are yet to be established. It is a genuine concern whether this division was necessary and its financial implications on taxpayers' money. There have been calls from different stakeholders pushing for the government to move away from working in isolation in addressing railway issues by encouraging, supporting, and strengthening public-private partnership in tackling such matters. Today, we still echo and reiterate the sentiments of the Minerals Council, which encouraged and called for the splitting of Transnet freight rail and infrastructure by October of this year. This is necessary as it will provide the private sector with the necessary platform to participate in the country's rail network, which we expect to improve efficiencies and boost exports. Not only does the lackluster approach to developing infrastructure have a negative effect on our economic growth, but it is also causing our roads to become a more deadly place given the frequency of accidents on our roads. Whilst we should be profiting from the increase in demand for coal globally, we are rather suffering at the hands of inadequate infrastructure, being unable to turn global turmoil into a missed opportunity for South Africa. There often exists a gap between our vast minerals on one hand and the failure to establish meaningful production value and employment on the other hand. It is against this background that we encourage public-private partnership, which will allow beneficiation to the locals in mining opportunities. In light of this, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, the IFP accepts the budget. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honourable Hatebe. I'll now invite Honourable Ryder.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, my favorite Disney movie is The Jungle Book. The villain of the movie is Shere Khan, the tiger. The tiger is a cold, calculating, and evil individual obsessed by a deep-seated prejudice and hatred. In the end, the tiger is defeated by a combination of brave acts, clever tactics, and nature doing its work to protect itself. Minister Mantashe, South Africa was once a mining and mineral giant of this world. That is why the colonialists came here in their numbers. The minerals in the ground still exist, but our government has destroyed the mining sector through bad policy, taking us from the #1 spot to a position where nobody wants to do business with us. The recent mining in Daba was a case in point, where small players like Botswana were in great demand by investors from across the world, but the South African representatives were ignored. No overt aggression or vociferous rejection, just a quiet vote with the feet. And Minister, You had the audacity to stand here today and tell us that mining is doing well. You know this is not true. What reason do you have, Mr. Minister, for the move of AngloGold Ashanti's primary listing to New York? You have killed an industry upon which this country was built. Whether the failure of an entire industry is a result of the repeated failures to fix the cadastral system, the disastrous mining charter, the unscrupulous granting of licenses to family members of party loyalists and leaders, or just plain incompetence, is a discussion for much more learned people than I. My assertion, though, is that it's a combination of all of the above. ANC policy meets ANC corruption, meets ANC ineptitude, all embodied by an ANC stalwart hell-bent on destroying an entire industry. Honourable Nana's daughter had it spot on. So let's talk then about energy. The closure of the refineries in South Africa has threatened our independence. We are reliant on others where once we had surplus capacity. Typical regression by an ANC government that has no idea of how to operate what we already have, never mind grow and improve. The issues of electricity are well ventilated, but of course only in the dark. Honourable Bibi suggested that the complaints were overblown, and she dismissed them as politicking. Honourable Bibi needs to talk to the voters, ask them about their failed businesses, about their lost jobs, the hours spent in traffic, the inability to cook, and the lives lost due to life support systems that rely on electricity. Ask them if their failed businesses are indeed overblown. Tell them they're overblowing their complaints. Observers will recall that 3 years ago, every ANC spoker that came to the podium spoke about the fourth industrial revolution. Note how suddenly they've stopped as we're being taken back to the circumstances that prevailed around the first industrial revolution. Under your watch, Minister Mantashe, what a legacy. Who would have thought that Honourable Ngwenya is a better chair than she is a speech maker? The less said, the better. I'll just wait for the video to come out. On the whole, ANC members today were very defensive, including Councillor Pakansi. I do not believe that you represented local government today, Councillor. Anyway, Minister, at the end of your speech yesterday, you asked for ideas. The ideas are quite simple. Fix the cadastral system. Give mining companies security of tenure. Remove the impediments to doing business. And stop giving licenses to incompetent Zoomers and Makashules who have never mined in their lives. The safety of miners and communities living close to mines depends on it. Honourable Magwala raised the same concern today. He also raised the alarm on illegal mining, something that I raised in the House for the past 4 years consistently, but still no action from the department. Just a pity that Honourable Magwala took the begging bowl out at the end. My time is nearly up, Minister. My time is nearly up, Minister. So is yours. Step aside. Let a competent government fix the mess that you leave behind. Woza 2024. Thank you.
Please leave the minister
Thank you.
alone, the progressive minister alone, and go.
I will now invite order members. Order members.
Sorry, when does Mohai come back to the house? Isn't he paid to be in the house?
Order members. I'll now invite Honourable Mkiva, who's on the virtual platform. Honourable Mkiva.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Greetings to you and greetings to the Chief Whip, Honorable Mohai, Minister of Minerals and Energy, the Honorable Gwede Mantashe, permanent and special delegates present in this august house. I greet you this afternoon on behalf of the African National Congress, the governing party of this republic. Budget vote processes serve as a perfect opportunity to cement our oversight role as Parliament. The processes put to bed any doubt that could still be lingering in anyone's mind regarding the chain of command in the accountability ecosystem. However, it is also a reminder that ours is a responsibility that we should carry out with the utmost care and humility. We should, as we do, recognize that we are not in any way involved in a contest, but in a compact with our people to ensure that government is held to the highest standards of accountability. That said, I should hasten to register my disappointment at the predictability of the opposition in their quest to throw mud at anything that the government of the people seeks to achieve. They do this with relentless impunity. And if it were up to them, we could very well reject the budget and just plunge the department into chaos or at most non-existence. We will do nothing of that sort. Instead, we shall move forward with the adoption of the people's budget as we clearly understand the mandate of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. I must pause here and begin to remind South Africans that we come from a dark past where electricity, in terms of the racist white regime, was never meant to be consumed or to be at least escalated to areas of their own jurisdiction. It was only a preserve of a certain minority in the country. The other thing that the apartheid government did best, wherein some of its remnants sit in this house, was to make use of the Africans to beautify their system so that they can talk on their behalf whilst our people are suffering. Honorable House Chairs, ours is a mandate to ensure the transparent and efficient regulation of the country's mineral resources and minerals industry, and the secure a sustainable provision of energy in support of socio-economic development. If we had a department with such a clear mandate in the dark past, we could not have found ourselves in a situation where the so-called Cullinan Diamond sits in a faraway country, as we also saw recently what had happened during the coronation of one of their great-grandsons. It sits in the stark contrast to the lot of the people east of Pretoria, where it was discovered. With no transparency and no accountability to the people of South Africa, the then colonial government shipped our precious stone, living generations who now call Refilwe settlement their home in abject poverty. History has no blank pages, Honorable House Chair. The mining industry in South Africa, I dare say this, is the third largest in the world. And in 2016, it accounted for 8% of the country's GDP. It is therefore incumbent on this House to ensure that we get this budget vote over in line in order to enable the department to play its role in sustaining the industry, thereby sustaining the economy of our country. Sustaining the industry also means that the department will tighten measures to safeguard the lives of our people and protect them from mining-related diseases and disasters. This minister, who is a capable leader of our revolution, has made very robust and meaningful constructive intervention by ensuring that even some of the diseases which have affected our people in the past is making sure that the mining magnates of this country are coming up with resources to compensate all those family members, including those who come from the labor-sending communities. And secondly, he is putting these mining houses into task by ensuring that they play a meaningful role in the development of our community by coming up with projects which incorporate social investment, not things that are a curtain kind of a situation, but really things that are tangible, which include the building of the schools. I saw him coming to my constituency in Dujwa to putting up a world-class facility of a school, or a modern school for that matter, which is fit for purpose. Doing so would pacify the spirit of Dr. Nelson Mandela, who believed that a nation's greatest wealth is in its people. People, he said, are the source of the nation's human capital, social cohesion, and democratic participation. With several mines having reached the end of their lifespan, there is an even greater need to regulate the mining of the deposits that remain. This we need to do to deter the ever-increasing numbers of illicit mining activities in our country. These illicit mining activities, whose protagonists are the so-called Zamazamas, have wreaked havoc in our communities around Carltonville and Amalahleni, as well as elsewhere in the country, as you all know, honorable members. Culprits coming from as far as our neighboring countries descend on our shores with the explicit aim to loot and plunder whatever they could salvage from the old mines. They commit secondary crimes, some of which are difficult to clamp down due to their fingerprints not being in the population register. We also need to continue to monitor the effect of the disused mines to the environment and the health of adjoining communities. And the department is better placed to do just that. All they need is for us today to stop playing party politics in favor of a united front towards approving this budget. I am also aware that the department faces a perfect storm, with load shedding having become a relentless thorn in our collective flesh. However, I have chosen to be perennial, optimistic, and wish to invite everyone in this house to walk this journey with us. It may be dark today, but let's keep the faith to a better and brighter tomorrow. We can start by passing this budget today, and if we do so, we would have contributed immensely to the prospect of a future that is free from incessant power interruptions, whose origins have their roots in the history of our country. Honorable Chairperson, it may be convenient for some to disregard this piece of history, but it remains a reality today. The architects of apartheid saw nothing wrong in planning for power supply to be rolled out to minority groups, while the majority inhaled smoke coming from braziers and coal-fired stoves. The well-off in the Black communities could only be proud of the flaunt their welcome Dover stove, whilst the rest dependent on open fires and primer stoves for their energy needs. This is what the minister refers in the modern day times or wherein we exist right now as poverty of energy, which some of our areas still actually suffer from that poverty of energy, by the way. But this government has at least ensured that wall to wall in South Africa, our people have access to energy, regardless of their color or creed. It was the democratic government, after the dismantling of apartheid, which sought to disrupt the status quo by embarking on a massive electrification drive, which saw thousands and hundreds of thousands of our households being electrified. We are emboldened by the steps taken to open the industry for contribution by players in the field of green and renewable energy. And we can already see some light at the end of the tunnel. We are saying we cannot romanticize the issue of the green energy. Instead, we should look into the mix so that we ensure that we come up with a balanced equilibrium, which is going to ensure that energy supply is actually sustainable in the country. Those in doubt should not look further than the integrated resource plan, which has been valuable in determining or estimating the country's electricity demand and how this demand could be met. Honorable Chairperson, we encourage that there should be an interruption of monopolies, with Black and women entrepreneurs becoming direct beneficiaries in the department's IPP program. They cannot forever be consumers in a post-apartheid era where old stereotypes continue to thrive and thrive alone. We have noted that there are plans to open bid window 7 for renewables in the not so distant future. And we hope that the department will use
a part of their budget to educate our people about the bidding process and what areas or provinces are fertile ground for the bids. I stand up on behalf of the African National Congress to support Budget 34 as it is the right thing to do. The ANC is the only hope for our people. It is the only party that ensures that it represents the best interests of our people, because we live to articulate the aspirations of all our people in the country, regardless of their background. We stand for a united, democratic, non-racial, and a non-sexist South Africa with a budget that is designed to benefit all our citizens. We support Minister Mantashe and his department, though I submit, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Malibongwe.
Before I can call all the members, before I can call the minister, let me also, honorable members, acknowledge the family of our late Honourable Apleni. They're the Kalari for the next session, so they are with us. So we acknowledge them and we welcome them to the National Council of Provinces where the late was working. Now I'll invite Honourable Mantashe, Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. Honorable Bibi raised a very important issue that for more than 300 years, we're not part of the economy. And I can tell you that in 1987, women were not allowed to work in the mines. Today, because of the drive for transformation, 72,000 miners are female. I'm leaving that. Gas is not just an alternative to coal. It should develop alongside coal. It should not be an alternative that you switch off coal, you open gas. They must work together. The need for base load is ever growing. Honorable Nana make a very unfortunate example of using his child as an example in political debates. It is not done. I'm giving that advice for free. I won't charge you for that. It's a free advice. Don't use your child in your politics. Allow us to punch one another in politics. Leave your child out of it. The power ship, the power ship, Honorable Nana, the power ship, Nana, 20 years, they gave us a price of R1.17 a unit for 20 years. And when we said reduce it to 10 years, they gave us a price of R1.34 a unit. Make your view, is that expensive or not? My own view is that emergency procurement can be 20 years, can be 10 years. It is not a great supply. It is emergency that supplies you energy when you need it. Can be how long? It will only supply you energy when you need it. If you don't need it, they will not supply you. When you need it, they will supply you. Somebody make a very unfortunate point from the FF that health and safety received less attention. You know, yeah, let me tell you, I'm a mine worker by background. In 1986, I went to Kinross with 177 miners, died in 10 minutes because of a disaster in Kinross. 177 in 10 minutes, and it was followed by the Val Reef disaster. Today, in 2022, we reported a total number of fatalities in the industry at 49. That means cooperation in that area is effective. Now, then come to Honorable De Bruin. He acts like a police, you know. You know, this is the point I made about a man appointed to run an entity, which was technical. I said, We appoint the police to run a technical institution. We'll get police results. Honorable Dubrin does the same. Zondo Commission, director report, and so forth and so forth. Because he can't see beyond conspiracy of apartheid intelligence. He can't see beyond that. And I want to appeal to Honorable Dubrin, move beyond the apartheid in conspiracy and intelligence. Think originally and make ideas available. Environmental issue not important. That's not the issue. The issue is development and environment must be balanced. No one must has veto power over the other. Don't stop development and cite environment. Don't undermine environment and cite development. Combine the two, have a balanced approach. Salga talks about INEP, he says it's a very backward system. It's not until we achieve a universal access to electricity, we'll continue driving it. To change the number of minutes, Honorable Ryder is actually reflecting his age. I'm sure you are close to my age. You think when mining was gold, that's what you are talking about. Today, we're not talking about gold mining, we're talking about mining broadly. All the minerals, including minerals of the future. So that we're developing. That's why, despite all the problems, we increased revenue from mining from 1.1 to 1.18, because we continue doing despite the headwinds. So the question of the cathedral system, you'll get it end of June, next month. We are busy with it, you are going to get it. I'm not longer saying future and future. You'll get it end of June. Let me make a point, a last point, and sit down, Honorable Chair. I can see my minutes are finished. It is important when we come to NCOP or NA, when we move out of here, if you are a ministry, have ideas to think about. And you will notice that when you throw constructive ideas, we do apply our mind to them. But when you're just ridiculing us, we don't apply our minds to that, because ridicule builds no future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Malibongwe minutes.
Okay. Honorable Order members, allow me to take this opportunity to thank Minister Mantashe, Deputy Minister Dr. Nkabane, special delegates, representative of Salga, for availing themselves for this very important debate in the National Council of Provinces. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable delegates, will now proceed to the second order, oration condolences on the passing of Honorable Thembinkosi Apleni. Honorable DM, I will no, there won't be any harm. Let's allow to have the family assisted to come to this part before we can we can do the second one. We can stretch in the meantime, comfort stretch whilst they're coming down. Honorable delegates, once again, we acknowledge and welcome the family of the late Thembinkosi Apleni, Honorable Thembinkosi Apleni, who was part of us in the National Council of Provinces for the past years up until his untimely death. I'll call upon Honorable Mokause. Oh, no, is it Honorable Makwala? Yeah, I was in the chamber who will come and do the oration. Honorable Makwala.
Thank you, Chairperson, once again. Mandibulise kisapho laka Apleni sitha kuhlanga lo ngehlanga. Nqenqe sikhala sonke inqeba lenu lelethu. Chairperson, we meet today to pay a tribute to the Honourable Thembinkosi Apleni, a fearless economic freedom fighter, an uplifting revolutionary, and a leader whose life was dedicated to tireless serving our people and movement. When fighter Apleni joined the Economic Freedom Fighters in 2014, soon after its formation, it had been 20 years since South Africa's first democratic election were held. And back then, as in this case today, the condition of our people was unchanged. As black people were politically free and impoverished and without land. It was in response to this condition that Apleni joined the Economic Freedom Fighters. He was moved by the condition of our people and how almost 3 decades of political freedom had not borne much significant to the people of South Africa. Like many fearless soldiers of our movement, Fighter Apleni responded to the clarity call and has contributed immensely to the forging of the history of the EFF. As a fighter from the very start, he saw his seats for economic freedom in King Williamstown, where he served as a sub-regional coordinator and a regional secretary of Buffalo City in the year 2015. He anchored the firm belief that economic freedom will be attained through implementation of the 7 cardinal pillars. And when he was deployed as a councillor at the Buffalo City Metro Municipality in 2016, and when he was elected as a Eastern Cape Provincial Deputy Chairperson in 2018. His contribution in Namatole District Municipality was crucial in growing the EFF support base, both in terms of electoral results as well as building structures and recruiting members in community. As his colleague in EFF, we bid farewell to a committed cadre and are sadness by the loss of his great son of the Eastern Cape, who has served in this house representing the Eastern Cape as a permanent delegate since 2019. His life at service of the people cannot be summarized into few words, but we can say with certainty that his life was driven by a commitment to the lives of the poor and determination to all in his power to eradicate poverty. Fighter Apleni was a servant of the people and was committed to fighting the struggle faced by the youth of this country. He was devastated by his high employment rate, which currently faces the youth of Ekonwe, who are reduced to loitering streets, left with no option but to engage in social ills such as drugs abuse and crime. The condition of our people in Eastern Cape, Chairperson, in generally deplorable and show no evidence of liberated people. Most of the people in that province has engaged in protests to receive attention from their government. And the Eastern Cape provincial government has weakened its capacity to provide service-driven economic growth and develop for the people of Amatole, Buffalo City, Sarah Batman, Chris Sane, Joe Gabi, O.R. Tambo, Nelson Mandela, and Alfred Nzo. Government leaders openly loot state resources, pursuing self-enrichment and delay processes that seek to expose such colliers' behavior. Such negligence touch on Fighter Apleni community activism, provincial leadership role, and even his parliamentary role, because for him, being a fighter was not only a job, but a calling. He lived the EFF land redistribution policies, making commitments to access the land for residential, industrial, cultural, religious, and recreation use. He understood the struggles and suffering of the people on the ground. He understood the needs of his community and neighbors in Zwelicha and the challenges which they confront on a daily basis as Black people. He was an unfair and never divided. His mission was served to the people above everything else. He was an accomplished revolutionarist. His life was matched so completely with the story of his people. His greatness as a leader, driven from his humanity and his respect for the collective leadership. Chairperson, we have walked a long road with Apleni, sharing trials and tributes and precious moments of victory in this house and in the organization. We know him, we have worked with him, led with him, we have served, suffered, and sacrificed with him, and we therefore can vouch for his credibility as a leader and his ideological clarity, his commitment to his people, his party, and to this country and his future. It's sadness to us to know that we will not be able to see. It is sadness to us to know that he will not be be here to see the EFF turns 10 years on the 26th of July or witness the celebration at FNB Stadium. But we know he will always be on our side and gives us courage to continue our struggle until the final victory. In his example, he finds a source of inspiration. We vow to continue in the struggle for economic freedom, to pick up his spear where it has fallen. We are now more than ever stronger, united, secured, and determined for the final battle against the enemies of the revolution. Today, Chairperson, we proudly remember his son, the son of the Eastern Cape, who gave his life to attain the economic freedom in our lifetime. May his exemplary inspired future generation. To the family of Thembinkosi Apleni, we would like to thank you for giving us this loving son of yours to be part of this movement for emancipation of Black people. May your hearts be comforted that your son lived life to the fullest, that he ran the race without wavering. We thank you for the nights that you were alone because Apleni was out organizing for the EFF. We wish his family, children, trusting that they will always take the courage from his memory. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honourable Nana on behalf of the Democratic Alliance.
Honourable House Chairperson.
Your mic, Honourable Nana.
I'm acting like quite enough. Honourable House Chairperson, honourable members, Lusapo lakwa Apleni. Imbongi yesizwe, umfoka Mqhayi waseNtabozuku. Umve xa esithi thina nto zaziyo asothukanga.
Organize water, please, and assist.
I'm sorry, Chairperson. I'm sorry, colleagues.
No problem.
Imbongi yesizwe umfoka Mqhayi waseNtabozuku. Mve xa esithi thina nto zaziyo asothukanga nto. Sibona kamhlophe sithi bekufanele. Sithethe ngqondweni sithi kufanele. Babe kungenjalo bekungeya kulunga. Ngoko ke sotashe waqala ukulunga. Ngenqanawa uMendi namhla yandisile.
Sorry, Chairperson, I don't mean to be disruptive, but there isn't translation. If you could kindly assist in that regard. Thank you. At the moment.
Can we be assisted with the translation? Can you attend to it, Advocate? Still not there, Honourable Kari?
If the speaker speaks, then we'll know. But we don't have to hold the meeting up. It's just that they'll catch up here.
Okay, now you can continue, Honourable Nana.
Ndibe nethamsanqa lokukhonza izwe lakowethu.
Miss Mike.
Njengelungu lendlowiso-mthetho nelitsha-ntliziyo isitshofu-tshovu ebesingena ngebhunguze emthotshweni. Igorha elinduma zingaphambili Uninzi lwazo uzibethwe ngabekhaya, ngabombutho, nabebehleka naye. Lithole leenkunzi zabathembu, oomadiba, ozondwa zintshaba zingazukumenza nto. Odlomo, oyemyem, ovela bembhentsele, osopitsho, onqolomsila, umfo kaApleni. Lo mfo ebethobekile, engacingi, emi ngenyawo. Indoda yokwenene ibizikisa ukucinga phambi kokutyhala into aza kuyikhupha ngomlomo. Le ndoda ibingathi iimpuku azityiwa zibe zivele ngemisila emlonyeni. Umntu ebekhokhele ngomzekelo, ebathanda ngokunyanisekileyo abantu belizwe lakowethu. The first time I took note of Honourable Apleni, we were in the first joint sitting of the NCOP and the National Assembly. We were all seated and his party came in a few minutes before the proceedings began. In the true EFF style, they instructed us to give way so they could have a place to sit. I can recall his voice very clearly saying, move, 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 move. But we stood our ground, and finally most of them had to find seats elsewhere. But he found a way to squeeze himself between Honorable Ryder and myself. Believe me, we were not so happy with him, but we kept our cool, occasionally grinning at each other without a real smile. Few weeks later, as the NCOP permanent delegates from the Eastern Cape, we were invited to the State of the Province address. EFF MPLs were in their red overalls, much to the dislike of the Speaker of the Legislature. So his leader was ordered to leave the chamber. He obviously refused. The white shirts were called in to remove him from the chamber. Honourable Apleni did not have a big body frame, but boy, oh boy, he was in the forefront protecting his leader from being ejected. Despite the fact that both we knew were from the Eastern Cape, we kept our distance from one another. As fate would have it, in December 2019, whilst I was doing Christmas shopping, I bumped against this guy in my hometown of Alice again. Well, he told me, by the way, leader, my home was actually in Simo, Mpofu. Simo is a few kilometers away from Alice. From that day, we called one another Umkhaya, which is homeboy in English. As time went on, I got along very well with Honourable Apleni. He opened up to me on social matters that bothered him. I wish he had also spoken more about his circumstances, because I would have advised him. And this is a message I would like to leave with us in this house today. Honorable members, as you think it's you against the world, you have no one to turn to. As you think it can never be worse than this, life has no meaning to you. Remember, tomorrow will be better than today. As colleagues, we need to be more caring about one another. We have to be there for one another during the times of need. On behalf of my party, the Democratic Alliance, I would like to thank the Apleni family for lending us their son, who served our nation, and convey our heartfelt condolences at the passing of Thembi Nkosi. Ngenene, isitya esihle asidleli, ze ningalili niqalekise, nide nizonzakalise, nakule ngxokolo siminane. Enkosi.
Thank you. I'll now invite Honorable De Bruin on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, all of us in the NCOP has lost a team member in the passing of the Honourable Apleni, who will be remembered for his friendliness and his dedication to his party and his party's goals. He served his party with diligence, and the tributes after his untimely passing speaks about the passion for people and his community. On behalf of the Freedom Front Plus, we pay our condolences to the Apleni family and relatives over the tragic and untimely loss of their son, their brother, father, and also extend our condolences to his friends and comrades and everyone that crossed his path in some way. We wish them strength at this time of sorrow and bereavement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable De Bruin. I'll now invite Honorable Khatebe on behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party, who's on the virtual platform. Honorable Pongan. Honorable Pongane, unmute and while he's struggling, let's invite Honorable Khai on behalf of the African National Congress. It's in the chamber.
Honorable House Chairperson, honorable members, family of Honorable Apleni, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to join the rest of other speakers on behalf of the African National Congress in expressing our profound condolences to the family of Honorable Thembi Nkosi Apleni and the people of the Eastern Cape for their profound loss. I'm certain that many of you will agree that Honorable Apleni carried himself with profound grace and humility. He was a humble human being with a mind whose wisdom and deep political thoughts inspired his commitment to serve the people of the Eastern Cape. Indeed, the gentle voice, whose measured words of profound reasoning and wisdom has been silenced. As a council, we have truly lost a dedicated servant whose compassion and commitment to represent his political party and the people of the Eastern Cape was truly admirable. Honorable Apleni, who served the council and the people of the Eastern Cape as a permanent delegate from May 2019 until the death last week. He served as the EFF's provincial treasurer from November 2022 until his death last week. He was previously the EFF's provincial secretary from 2015 until 2018, when he was elected deputy provincial chairperson. Honorable Apleni is a founding member of the EFF and has served as the party's proportional representative councillor in Buffalo City Municipality, where he played an instrumental role in championing the plight of his community and the interest of the people of Buffalo City. In the council, Honorable Apleni served as a member of the Select Committee on Transport, Public Service and Administration, Public Works and Infrastructure, as well as the Select Committee on Trade and Industry, Economic Development, Small Business Development, tourism, employment and labor. He was also an alternate member of the Select Committee on Education and Technology, Sports, Arts and Culture, as well as the Select Committee on Health and Social Services. On behalf of the entire leadership of the Council, we want to express our deepest appreciation to the Apleni family, especially his wife and children, for sharing him with our Council and the people of the Eastern Cape. We say fond farewell to Honourable Thembinkosi and thank him for the sacrifices and tireless work in fighting for our people, especially the people of Buffalo City and Eastern Cape. Honourable Apleni ran his race, fought and became the victor. In his poem about the grief and death, Mark Rickaby writes, "If you are fortunate, you are given a warning. If not, there's only the sudden horror, the wrench of being torn apart, of being reminded that nothing is permanent, not even the ones we love, the ones our lives revolve around. Life is a fragile affair. We are all dancing on the edges of precipice, in dizzying cliff so high, we can't see the bottom. One by one, we lose those we love most into dark ravine. So we must cherish them without reservation. Now, today, this minute, we will lose them or they will lose us. Someday, this is certain. There is no time for bickering, and their loss will leave a great pit in our hearts, and pit we struggle to avoid during the day and fall into the night. Some unable to accept this loss, unable to determine the worth of their life without them, jump into that black pit spiritually and or physically, hoping to find them there. And some survive the shock, the denial, the horror, the bargaining, the barren, empty aching, the unanswered prayers, the sleepless nights, when their breath is crushed under the weight of silence and all that it means. Somehow, some survive all that, and like a flower opening after a storm, they slowly begin to remember that the one they lost in a different way. We may the soul of Honourable Apleni rest in peace. Sithi kukhaya loMadiba namthi igama ke elithi Thembinkosi. Sawuthi ke eligama silibuyisela kuni ibe nini abathemba inkosi. Inkosi.
Thank you, Honorable Khai, on behalf of the African National Congress. Colleagues, on behalf of the presiding officers, it is indeed a sad moment in the NCOP and what we have gone through since we have started this sixth parliament. We know as this family, we join all the parties to send our heartfelt condolences to the Apleni family. In South Africa, we have got two houses, National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. That's what constitutes parliament in terms of our constitution. The sad or unfortunate part is that the NCOP is a small family. Permanent members were 54. So it's impossible to have 54 people that won't know each other. So it is what it is. Once again, we are believing that the Almighty God will give you strength in these challenging times to deal with this challenge. It's easy to talk, but it's difficult when you're faced with such a situation. The chair and the deputy are engaged in some other activities, but some of the members of the NCOP will be going to be part of the funeral after tomorrow on Saturday. May the departed soul of our colleague, a friend, a brother, a comrade, rest in eternal peace. Kindly receive the deepest condolences from the leadership of Parliament. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you honorable members for affording us the time to do the orations. The Secretary of Parliament has prepared the book that is outside. We are appealing to all of us members to go and pen the messages. We know we've done it in the past, that will be taken to the family as part of our messages. Not all of us can have the opportunity to participate in the oration that we have done today. Once again, we thank the family in this difficult time for being with us. The Secretary will do the official announcement if there are any. Secretary.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson and members. It is indeed a sad day in the National Council of Provinces. This is the second member that we are losing that we have lost in a very short space of time. It is not normal, as you would know, honorable members, House Chair, that the Secretary of the House would be addressing the House. But unfortunately, I am addressing the House under very difficult circumstances. Having served this House and having served Honourable Apleni, it is indeed difficult for us to accept that he is no more. We would like to take this opportunity to pass our condolences to the Apleni family, as well as to his party, his friends, as well as to all of you honorable members, on behalf of the employees of the National Council of Provinces, on behalf of Secretary to Parliament and the employees of Parliament in general. I am informed, House Chair, that the funeral would be on Saturday. We shall announce further details as they become available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. I now officially declared the sitting closed. Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.